I love late 90s, early 2000s horror. It was a time where, following a deluge of franchise sequels that had an audience growing kind of tired, we started to see new properties and some much older films being remade, on modest budgets so as not to present too much of a risk. These movies had interesting and unique concepts and creatures, fun settings, and one rock song in the soundtrack that would usually play after the movie's cold open. The ongoing development of visual effects meant that creatures that would be too complex to be done entirely practically or too costly could be realised with a pretty solid execution. Looking back at these movies like House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts, The Unborn, Dead Silence, there is one that always stands out to me that, as a kid, scared the crap out of me, and one that I have never, as someone who attended a university to study film, have never heard anyone mention ever. This is Darkness Falls. Darkness Falls tells the fictional tale of Kyle, who after a near miss in his childhood is hunted by the Tooth Fairy, the cursed spirit of a woman called Matilda Dixon, who was killed by the town 150 years previous. She comes to collect every kid's last baby tooth, but if the child looks upon her twisted visage, she gets him. Kyle eludes her, but his mum is killed, resulting in Kyle being sent away after years of psychiatric treatment, only to be pulled in one last time, days before retirement, when his childhood friend's brother finds in the same position that Kyle was. Kyle returns, faces off against the Tooth Fairy, and everyone lives happily, whoa. Wait. It's fine, happily ever after. It's not exactly breaking any new ground in terms of its delivery. Monster with clearly defined rules chasing after who I'm still not convinced is not Ryan Reynolds and Rachel McAdams. Until her weakness is exploited to defeat her in parallel with the emotional culmination of the development of our protagonist. You can tell, can't you? When the wanky film academic mode is engaged, you can just feel it when I'm about to start talking complete falafel. It's about therapy and mental health. Let's fucking do this. Let's go through the plot first to outline what really happened. Kyle is a kid who has just lost his last baby tooth. He's about to go to bed when his almost girlfriend Emily Browning pops up and they make romantic plans.
There's this school dance on Saturday night. And it's like one of those boy-girl dances.
Uh-huh.
And boys ask girls, so...
I already told my mom you'd be by at 7.
As he goes to sleep, he is spooked by the local mythological figure of the Tooth Fairy. He sees her face, and then she tries to get him. He manages to escape into the bathroom, but his mother gets got as she investigates.
See, Kyle, there's nothing to be afraid of.
The town cops, and remember kids, ACAB, that's right, all cauliflowers are broccoli. Cauliflowers are just albino broccoli, that's science. The cops turn up and on hearing that
she was already dead when we got here.
I heard he was having some problems, but Jesus Christ.
Looks like his mom put up a bit of a struggle.
Okay.
they immediately assume his guilt and off he goes with the doctor. Kyle is taken away. Flash forward and Kyle is living in the city, so alright, they named it just once actually, Las Vegas. He gets a call from Kat, who is also grown up because that's how time works, keep up, who says her brother Michael is saying the same weird shit that Kyle was saying about something living in the darkness and stopping him from sleeping.
It's my brother Michael. He's in the hospital and he's really scaring me. He won't sleep, not even for 10 minutes at a time, and it's the things he says.
Kyle goes back to Darkness Falls, the town in America. It's not Australia. Stop saying it's Australia. It's clearly America. Look, there's a flag in everything. He chats with Michael and seemingly tries to play down or dismiss the reality of the Tooth Fairy. See, we don't know how Kyle feels. We know he lives in a city that's always illuminated, in a floodlight showroom, and he carries enough flashlights to outshine the sun. But we don't know if he believes the Tooth Fairy is real, nor do we know if he believes Michael is actually seeing her, or maybe it's a super special trauma that just he gets to deal with. Kat pops up, and then so does Larry, another childhood friend, who is with Kat. dating Kat? Film doesn't care, don't get too attached. Kyle won't stay to help, Kat mad.
Sorry.
Kyle and Larry go for a drink where they run into a local, Tucker from the Insidious movies, who then beats the crap out of Kyle. Kyle is hauled in for questioning when they find Ray's body.
Ray's dead.
He's dead.
I think you had something to do with it.
I didn't kill him. I didn't do this. No, it must have been...
Kyle is gotten out by Larry, who is also a lawyer, and then Larry refuses to drive Kyle to the hospital where he plans on helping Michael, and instead tries to drive Kyle out of town, into the woods, at night.
Turn this car around now.
Meanwhile, the doctors plan on putting Michael into a sensory deprivation tank in order to flood therapy his fear of the dark away. See, Michael's gotten so bad, he's now hurting himself. Larry gets wasted, Kyle makes it back to the hospital in time to prevent the therapy and Michael's presumed fucking slaughter, and is then arrested again because cops are cops and all cauliflowers are broccoli.
Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Don't let them put him in the dark.
In jail, a third act happens and the Tooth Fairy goes all out trying to get to Kyle. He escapes with the help of the least shit cauliflower, cop, and they go to the hospital where they save Michael and Kat. Lose a couple of NPCs along the way, and then get to the town's lighthouse where Kyle eventually, literally chooses to descend into the darkness and face his trauma.
All this over a fucking tooth.
And then defeats the immortal Tooth Fairy the only way a person can when facing the embodiment of their childhood trauma and loss. Dick move closing jump scare and Finn. Darkness Falls has some very specific things to say about the nature of therapy, mental health, and most specifically, social attitudes to those things, despite the fact it's set in America. It feels like a very English movie. Little refresher for non-English folks on how to be an English. Here in the rotting carcass of a racist, imperialist, colonizing superpower, we don't like things that are weird. We don't mind the gays, but why do they have to rub it in our face with their rainbows, and their parades, and their mouth words? You can be foreign, but just not in our neighbourhood. What's that? A nice nuclear family sitting down to dinner? That's so wholesome. Wait, the dad has blue hair. What is this? Fucking France? So when this film comes along and the town is so...
You'll survive one drink, right? You're okay?
Can't.
Oh, Jesus. Come on, I bought you beer. Figured you'd like this one? It's a light.
Clonopin, Avocet. Shit, this one I can't even pronounce. Doc says half of these are antipsychotics. Well, I don't know much about medicine, but it occurs to me that if a man is taking antipsychotics, it might be because he has a tendency to become, well, psychotic.
He's a good man.
He's been awarded a stay.
But he came to help Michael.
He was in a mental hospital for 9 years. Kalen, he's a dangerous guy.
Why'd you have to come back for, man? Do you know how long I've been trying to get through to her? I mean, first of all, the brother's always there, and then the ghost. The ghost? You, man. I mean, nobody in this town had a chance with her. She couldn't get you out of her head. All she could ever think about was you.
Now Michael has seen her too, and she's coming for us. Thought you'd say something like that, Walsh.
It really, really resonates. The town of Darkness Falls views anyone that doesn't fit in with a traditional, healthy family image as being a threat. You'll notice I didn't say white or straight there, and that's because, well, everyone is white and straight. I personally take that as a reinforcement of this surface value, Stepford-wise obsession with conformity, but it's impossible, or rather irresponsible, to ignore the contextual reality that non-white, non-straight, non-male representation was hardly good at the time of the film's production. And I say non-male because although there are female characters in this film, even Kat doesn't really do shit. She's just kind of there to act as a love interest for one male and a maternal figure for the other. Kyle is immediately considered to be the murder suspect in his mum's killing because
I heard he was having some problems, but Jesus Christ.
Despite the fact the woman was cut to pieces and a clear lack of forensic evidence. The fact that he has some undisclosed problems in the past immediately outlines him as an abhorrent element, and it takes very little intellectual labour from the local county Mounties to accuse him, and I would argue this is not just linked to his problems. We can see that Kyle is living with his mum, but seemingly his dad is not on the scene. A non-nuclear family, a woman and her son, but having the audacity to live in a nice suburban neighbourhood. This is echoed by everyone's treatment of Kat as an adult, where the doctors and even Larry...
Why'd you have to come back for, man? Do you know how long I've been trying to get through to her?
babies and looks down on her, and if we were to take the text of the film as writ, her lacking drive to involve herself in the plot of the film, such as not knowing the steps an invasive and traumatic therapy will have on the child she has guardianship over.
Now, Michael, I'm gonna need you to hold still, okay? There might be just a little sting.
Can be taken as her participating in a culture that places her as a single, abnormal parental figure, in which she is the maternal role to a much younger sibling, as an outlier. This requirement of normalcy can be seen in the very opening of the film, where there is an importance placed on what is supposed to be and what is not supposed to be.
First time she didn't taste like blood. Should be sweet.
In essence, the town views Kyle as both a dangerous element and as someone spoiled or corrupted. This is fine because he leaves and never comes back, but by association he has spoiled Kat as well.
You know how long I've been trying to get through to her?
Ugh! We even see Ray have not a douchebag in the bar looking for a fight kind of reaction, but a genuinely upset and harried reaction to finding out that Kyle's back.
Kyle, as in Kyle Walsh.
That's right, Ray. It's him, in the flesh. Thank you, Dave. What's wrong?
That's the freak who killed his mother.
Kyle, and by association someone not normal with his trauma and therapy and psychological complications, is a hostile element to the prim, clean American image the town of Darkness Falls existed behind. This attitude that condemns Kyle can be seen actively working to fix Michael. Early on, we find the doctors have run CAT scans and MRIs. Magnetic resonance imaging scans and computerized axial tomography scans both have one thing in common. They are used to identify physical structures and physical damages. The doctor says that following these scans, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing they can do for the patient, who I will remind you, at this point, has not slept for 3 weeks and is convinced that something is coming after him.
Noctophobia is very common among his age group. Now, we've run 1 CAT scan and 2 MRIs at your behest, and the conclusions all say the same thing. There's nothing wrong with your brother. Scream, we've run every test possible. There's nothing more we can do.
The doctor's attitude is that there is nothing physically wrong, so there is nothing they can do. Therapy, psychology, psychiatry, even asking the kid about this thing he thinks is coming for him doesn't enter the question. There is nothing that can be physically removed, added, or changed to repair the problem, and as such, there is no problem. As someone like Michael cannot live in Darkness Falls if he exists between ill but reparable, or fine. He is later diagnosed as suffering with night terrors, a parasomnia that can be induced by sleep deprivation. This comes after he hurts himself, and the presiding medical solution is to stick the kid in the dark until he realizes there's nothing in there to hurt him.
That there is a procedure which we can perform right here, which has had an overwhelming success rate.
Is it surgical?
No, not at all. Michael is placed in a sensory deprivation chamber. The boy faces his fears and realizes that there's nothing to be afraid of.
Tests. Michael hates the dark.
That's the point.
You know, assuming he doesn't have a fucking heart attack or something. Exposure therapy is supposedly about exposing the patient to repressed memories and emotions while helping them relax in the face of the stimulus that causes the initial problem. Exposure therapy is not this. The pervasive revulsion at the notion of mental health care or therapy runs deep throughout the town, and as a result, Kyle's main arc through the film is to face the Tooth Fairy as both a symbol of the trauma he went through throughout his life, but in doing so, he also overcomes the Darkness Falls bred fear of confronting a condition that can't be fixed with a band-aid or a staple gun. Your doctor uses a staple gun, right? Because she said that was normal and that infection risk was low because doctors use special staples, but the box on her desk definitely said W.H. Smith. What kind of title was that? The attitude we see in modern day Darkness Falls isn't a new one. The story of Matilda Dixon is that of an older, unmarried woman living in the 1850s, spending time with the children of the town, but clearly feared and reviled by the townspeople because as soon as 2 kids go missing, the town hangs and tortures her before covering the whole sordid affair up and carrying on as normal when those 2 kids reappeared.
One day, 2 children didn't come home. The townspeople blamed Matilda. They hanged her, tearing off a mask, exposing her hideous face to the light. And with her dying breath, Matilda laid a curse upon Darkness Falls.
Oh hi, did you just time travel here from the socialist, renewable energy powered, community centered future? Take me with you. Well, in that case, let me give you a little historical context. Women should be married and not single and self-sustaining. That's weird and we don't like it. And now our kids are missing and it was probably her. That strange woman who just... There's no man in her house. That you go in there and there's no... It's just manless. Like, what does she do all day? Where does the food she makes go? Does she just set the table to serve a bunch of people and there's just empty chairs? Matilda Dixon stood out as abhorrent to the town and they destroyed her for it. They would do the same to Kyle and Michael and Christ knows how many others. Like, children really frequently die in Darkness Falls. Not enough to get the FBI in, apparently, but enough that Kyle has to mention it once to get this reaction.
How many unsolved murders you had around here? Not just this year, but in the last 100. How many of them involved children?
You're crazy, Walsh.
But he gets buried and covered up, and we just don't look at it. Matilda Dixon was a victim, and in a very real way, the Tooth Fairy is the curse she placed on the town as she died. Brooding, shadowy thing that destroys anyone who dares to look the problem in the face. Keep your head down, your eyes closed, and you'll be fine. This film is really good. Yeah, it's got problems. All films got problems, and I'd love to see a remake of this film with a sharper analysis on these themes about sticking out from the homogenous masses. Maybe get some people who aren't white dudes in there doing something. That'd be pretty cool. But for all its light early 2000s cheese, as a kid I would fucking sprint through patches of darkness just in case she was right there, right behind me. And I grew up, I'm not kidding, in the fucking woods, so there was a lot of dark patches to run through. If you haven't watched this film, and I bet you haven't, because people seem to take the whole spoiler warning don't watch thing as a fucking challenge, but go find a copy and give it a watch. It's a fun time, and apart from all the child murder and demonization of the mentally ill, it's got a cool rock song though. Thank you so much for watching. I am definitely getting copy strike for that. I've done a few of these video essays now, and I'm really enjoying making them. It's given me something to focus on, and I'm hoping you're enjoying watching them. If you do, subscribe and click the bell to be told when a new video comes out. And if you have a late 90s, early 2000s horror film you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments down below, or hit me up on Twitter.